Hello, everyone. I'm Derek Miller, President and CEO of the Salt Lake Chamber and Chair of the Utah Economic Response Task Force. Welcome to today's Task Force 10, where we spend 10 insightful minutes with business, government, and community leaders talking about what they are doing to adapt to the coronavirus crisis. And today we're joined by Ray Pickup, the CEO of WCF Insurance. Ray, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about WCF Insurance, its history and legacy in Utah?
Okay, thank you. WCF Insurance was created by the state of Utah in 1917. It was in that decade that most of the states in the country passed laws requiring employers to provide workers' compensation insurance to their employees. Prior to that time, if someone was injured at work, they did not have any coverage. They had to negotiate with their employer. If they had a benevolent employer, then the employer would take care of the medical bills, but there was no provision for lost wages or anything like that. So usually they would have to sue. The state of Utah passed its laws in 1917. And at the time, they felt like if they were going to require employers to purchase insurance, they needed to provide a market, a guaranteed market to provide the insurance. So they created the state insurance fund. And they capitalized the state insurance fund with a $40,000 loan, which was repaid in 1922. And since then, the state insurance fund did not ever receive any money from the state other than their role as a policyholder.
Having said that, wasn't it just recently that the WCF Insurance went through another big change in getting rid of the state board and what I would call becoming fully private?
Yeah, let me just back up even a few years before that. In 1988, we had a thrift crisis in the state. And at that time, policymakers in the state looked around and realized they may also be liable for the liabilities of the state insurance fund. And so they created an independent board of directors and structured it so the state insurance fund reported to this board. They instructed the board to run the state insurance fund as a insurance company, as a private insurance company. So instead of being run by the Department of Finance in the state, the state insurance fund was now run by its board of directors, and they changed the name to Workers' Compensation Fund of Utah. And that really started now it's a 28-year transition from being a state agency to being a private insurance carrier. In 2015 and 2017, the legislature passed legislation, which the governor signed and passed unanimously, to completely separate Workers' Compensation Fund from the state of Utah. So effective January 1, 2018, Workers' Compensation Fund became WCF Mutual Insurance Company.
And now operating in many states.
Yes, WCF Mutual Insurance, WCF writes workers' compensation premium in every state. We've selected as our core states, or the states where we're focusing our efforts, to be the Mountain West.
Okay.
So Utah, Idaho, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, and Northern California. Currently, over 1/3 of our premium is earned outside the state of Utah.
Every business, every industry has been impacted by the current coronavirus crisis. Tell us what WCF Insurance is doing to adapt and innovate in this time of need.
Okay, well, thank you, Derek. You know, we insure about 50% of the workers' compensation insured market in Utah. We know that this has had a terrible effect on many employers, and it's unprecedented, and it's put small businesses especially in a position where they have a difficult time operating, maybe even making payroll. So we're working hard to help them stay in business. Currently, we are not canceling any policies for failure to pay premium. We've extended that through the 1st of June. So we do have to send out the cancellation notice as required by Utah Insurance Code, but we're also sending a letter with it that says, you still owe us the premium, but you don't need to pay it now. We'll extend that date beyond June 1st if we need to. When a policy renews, we're automatically renewing policies unless the policyholder, their agent, instructs us not to. And we usually require 25% down payment on the policy, and then the balance is paid over 9 months. We're not waiving the down payment, but we're renewing the policies without receiving it now. So they'll have the opportunity to pay us that over the term of the policy, because we know for many small businesses, liquidity, having the cash to meet those kind of needs is very difficult now. We're not charging late fees. In fact, we never charge late fees on premiums.
You're the CEO of the organization. Every good leader knows that the number one most valuable asset of their organization is the people in those organizations. Tell me how your employees at WCF Insurance are handling this crisis.
Well, we have wonderful people at our company, and I've really been amazed at the way they've adapted. When the governor issued the directive, even before the governor issued the directive to stay safe, stay home, we had invited our employees to work from home. We have equipped most all of them with laptops and the other things they need to work from home. And virtually all of our employees are working from home now. And I've just been so impressed at the way that they've adapted to that new way of working. We're holding a lot of meetings via Zoom. In fact, there was a day in the last week of March where we had 80 Zoom meetings during the day and over 400 people participated.
Just in one day.
And some of us didn't even know how to use Zoom before then. So they're working with agents, they're working with policyholders. They're doing everything they need to do via Zoom.
You talked about your policy holders, and you mentioned a few things that you're doing to help them during this time, and the employees that you insure. You insure approximately 50% of worker compensation market in Utah. Are there other things that you're doing to help support those policy holders at this time?
Yes. One thing that we've done is we are participating with the Chamber by providing money for the small business grants that the Chamber's giving. Our business is built around small business, and we're anxious to help these businesses any way we can. One of the things that we did is in our March 13th board meeting, we asked our board of directors to declare a dividend. We've paid a dividend every year since 1992, and we usually pay it in May. But the board declared a 10% dividend, and we mailed those checks on March 30th because we know how much businesses need that money. Usually, the dividend has to be approved by the Department of Insurance, always. And usually they can take up to 30 days to review that. I called Commissioner Todd Kaiser, the commissioner of the Department of Insurance, and he jumped right on it, got it expedited and approved within a matter of a few days.
It's amazing to see how people come together and collaborate and make things happen and get towards yes under difficult circumstances.
Yes, and we really appreciate, we have a wonderful Department of Insurance here with great leadership, and they didn't hesitate at all to help us get that dividend out to policyholders. And I know most of them, we usually would have a lunch to do it. This time we just mailed the checks directly to the individual policyholders, and every policyholder got a check equal to 10% of their premium they paid us in 2019.
WCF Insurance is such an important part of our community, and I wanted to say thank you for the partnership with the Salt Lake Chamber on this grant program. We're focusing grants on minority-owned businesses, businesses in rural communities. We're calling it the Main Street Revitalization Grant Program, so that we can keep main streets across the state vital and open for business and safe for business at this time. Are there other things, Ray, that WCF Insurance is doing to help to support the community at this time?
Yes. Thank you for asking. We created a foundation in 2016. So when we separated from the state, we became subject to federal income tax, but it also made it a perfect time for us to create a foundation. And we've put the money in the foundation from investment income that we've earned. And so we were able to accumulate some assets there that we're using now. We set $2 million of that aside to use now to help business in Utah, to help individuals in Utah. So in addition to the $500,000 that we have given in the chamber grant, we have worked with United Way to provide to help pay for housing and food for those in need. We have worked with Matt Lyon, who's our Chief Operating Officer. Matt has been participating as part of a task force with Silicon Slopes and played a key role in the development of testutah.com. We've also provided personal protective equipment to healthcare workers, and we've paid for meals for healthcare workers up at the University Hospital. That's
phenomenal work, Ray. Thank you for your leadership at WCF Insurance, and thank you for the care that you give to your employees, and thanks for everything that you're doing to help maintain a prosperous community across the state of Utah. And thanks for joining us on the Task Force 10.
Well, you're welcome. And let me mention one other thing that we did is, as soon as we saw the significance of this crisis, we reached out to several of the not-for-profits that we've worked with in the past, and we gave money to the Utah, Idaho, and Nevada food banks. We gave money to United Way, Junior Achievement, and others that we've worked with in the past to really help them get past the initial hurdle of the decrease in their cash flow, because, of course, giving to those kinds of entities has really slowed down.
It's amazing to me that in a time of crisis, rather than just looking inward, you immediately began looking outward. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And we've been fortunate to be in a position to do that. And I know there are a lot of other generous individuals and companies in the state that are doing the same thing.
Thanks to all who've watched, and thanks to all who are doing your part in making sure that we maintain a prosperous community. This has been the Task Force 10.